Good morning, Kwei Kwei. This is Victoria Wilde speaking from my home on Bear Island, Temagami First Nation, and I'm here with respected elder and community member Virginia McKenzie, and I'd just like to thank you to say Chimigwich, Virginia, for giving your time today and to come and share with me. And I'd just like to offer you some sacred tobacco.
Good.
Yes. And I'm doing this interview on behalf of Living Temagami Art and Culture Foundation and filming what I'm calling Wisdom of the Elders, Healing Through a Pandemic. I know, Virginia, you have a lot of traditional knowledge and a deep understanding of how those cultural teachings may help and guide people through this pandemic and possibly beyond into a better future for all people. And I'm just looking forward to you sharing, Virginia, with those who may be watching and listening, your thoughts of your own personal experience living through this COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly any words of wisdom to give to the youth who have experienced a lot of mental and emotional challenges while coping each day. So, again, thank you, Virginia, for coming.
Kwekwe Musqueam Temagami Anishinaabe, Temagami First Nation. I'd like to thank Victoria for asking me to share my thoughts on the pandemic. It's a really big question, and I guess everybody experiences it in a different way. And for me, when I first heard about it, it wasn't really surprising in this day and age because our grandfathers and our grandmothers talked about the lighting of the seventh fire and that there would be a time of change that would be coming. And I really believe it's this time that is the time of change. It's like we all been put back to our home fires, like within our house and our
Mm,
households and our families and our grandmothers, our grandfathers. We all became more conscious of each other, our elders and our children, and I think our caring capacity has gone way up for each other. So I see a lot of really good healing taking place in this process, and
mm-hmm.
I think it's just part of the evolution of things. But also too is that in looking at a message to the youth is I guess it is for them is really is that one of the things that is so powerful is hope, and always having that hope to be able to build your dreams and establish your dreams. And I think that the most important part is that the parents are ones that are becoming parents, really establish a message that how important it is in this time when we've had the residential school,
Mm,
the finding of the 215 children, and our process as people. We've always been told how to think.
yes.
I really believe that's really important that we teach our youth, that independently, that they learn how to think. They're not told how to think,
Mm-hmm.
but they learn it in a way that can make positive change. And look outside, an industry world where um, it's very competitive. But look at something that's really real of sustaining our environment and sustaining our health,
Mm-hmm.
and especially our mental health during this time. It's that's extremely important because of the emotions that people are feeling, and you have people that are going through grieving processes that with loved ones that they lost to the virus, and you
Mm-hmm.
have there's a lot of people suffering. So if there's a time, I think that it's now, regardless of religion or belief, is to really to pray,
Yes.
to pray to bring more goodness into the world. And really
Mm-hmm.
is that one of the things that our youth needs now is that they need to have really good role models.
Yes.
and they need to have role models that can, parents that, have their children accept responsibility and not to enable
Yes.
their responsibilities.
Yeah.
Because as a society, is that we became dysfunctional in some ways, that we blame everybody else. It really scares me today when you see the amount of youth, when you have a hospital that has a percentage of babies that are born with crack addictions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying that there's something really, really wrong with the
Mm-hmm.
world. So for our little ones that are growing up, we need to really give them the tools to be able to have a healthy, fulfilled life where they feel good and they know their spirit and they know who they
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm.
And by that is just the simplicity of our old stories and understanding those old stories, and be given a set of values and principles and learning what integrity really is,
Mm-hmm.
because those are things that they don't seem to really teach or to carry within the school systems. The
Mm-hmm.
school system is made up for an industry world. It's not made up for humans to
Mm-hmm.
find that love, that compassion. So maybe during this time, as we all sit around our home fires, because we're, quarantined in some sense in our
Mm-hmm.
worlds and prison within our own world, that is we try to take the positiveness and to really, really look deep inside as
Mm-hmm.
what is meaning, and to get in touch with our own
Mm-hmm.
spirits, because somewhere along the line we got really lost.
Mm-hmm.
We got really lost when we pollute the water that we drink
Yes.
and the air that we breathe. Is that we fell off our path, and how do we bring ourselves back onto that path where we look at human life being more uh, valued than
Mm-hmm.
um, than the dollar. So,
Yes.
and I believe it's through youth and through education that is critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Once more, not telling a youth how to think, teaching them how to think,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching them how to have opinions that are based on fact
Mm-hmm.
and reality. So when you look at the pandemic, there is some really positive things that we can
Yes.
take this opportunity and we can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the ones that have lost loved ones.
Yes.
It's just terrible for any of us to lose,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that we love. You look at the extent of our fear of, of our relatives getting of it, our sisters and our brothers, and
Yes.
we have to stay in that place of, that goodness, that kindness, and try to keep each other safe and respect
Mm-hmm.
each other's
Mm-hmm.
space in a way that, we're feeling good. And
Yes.
maybe this is what the pandemic's doing for us, is
Mm-hmm.
it's really brought us home. And so for the adults, that a lot of them, that are acting like youth, or I shouldn't insult youth in any form, but are acting in behaviors that create and enable their teenagers to behave or to do things that hurt
Mm-hmm.
themselves,
Mm-hmm.
is I think they really need to wake up. They need to
Yes.
wake up for the future generation, so that
Mm-hmm.
we no longer have families that are having crack babies after crack babies, because that is really, you know, um, in Creator's law, is it's really sad. It's so sad, because when you think of a little child that was to be born into the world, a healthy little child, and society is allowing, over and over for these children to be
Mm-hmm.
born, and that a lot don't have the capacity to learn, or
Yes.
and it's just so sad. So
Mm-hmm.
our society, and if anything, is that if this pandemic needs to teach anybody anything, it needs to be our system that governs us,
Right. Yes.
to take that social responsibility, and they say human being, we need to put the kindness, we need to
Yes.
put kindness back into human kindness, which is
Mm-hmm.
really a key thing. And
Mm-hmm.
we need to check our own inventory and our own mental health and things like that, in order to really restore and to be able to assist others ensuring that there's a clear future and a good future for
Mm-hmm.
the people that are going to be the caretakers of the earth,
Yes.
which is really really important. And
Mm-hmm.
for our youth and our land, is that there's so much opportunity here for our youth. It's a matter of seizing the moment and trying to bring the light into it. One of the easiest things for people to do is always to cast blame, and to
Mm-hmm.
be able to say that, you know, well, you can't do this or you can't do that, or they don't allow or have the vision for, growth. And that was one of our gift as Anishinaabe people,
Mm-hmm.
was that gift of vision. And that's something
Mm-hmm.
that we need to carry as elders. That's something that we
Mm-hmm.
need to carry when we sit around our campfires, is a vision of where do we want to go, and
Mm-hmm.
how do we want to leave. When we leave this world, how do we want to leave it,
Mm-hmm.
and what have we done? So I think that we all have that responsibility to say, hey, it's wake up time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live with your head in the sand anymore, and
Yes.
allow these things to go on, and to allow, the verbal abuse, the mental abuse that just is carried on from generation to
Mm-hmm.
generation. Is that we need to accept responsibility. If we want our youth to live in a healthy future, in a healthy world, they
Mm-hmm.
have to be responsible.
Yes.
And for them to be responsible, we have to be responsible ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to have boundaries. And so with this, is that, maybe it's teaching us boundaries and saying, hey, well, yeah, we can't go here because there's somebody that has COVID, or
Mm-hmm.
we can't visit, or we can't party because of this. So maybe the first time in some people's lives is that boundaries have been set in place,
Yes. Yes.
because there's youth that have no boundaries,
Yes.
because parents and grandparents are just happy with them just sitting there and catering to their every needs while they're sitting
Mm-hmm.
there playing, some kind of TV game,
Yes.
and their minds aren't being nourished, their spirits aren't being nourished,
Mm-hmm.
but they want everybody else's kids or grandchildren to be healthy. But we all have to look in our
Yeah.
own yard.
That's
We all
right.
need to look at ourselves and what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we all take that responsibility without being in denial,
Mm-hmm.
then I think we're going to have a much better world. Because I think what happened is that sometimes with the hurt and trauma, is that we've crawled into denial and misbelief, and it became a safe place for us to
Mm-hmm.
be able to generate, to be able to live. And the
Mm-hmm.
days come now, is that at that crossroads, is we either got to start looking at things within a truthful way, as ugly as they might be,
Mm-hmm.
and start doing our laundry and hanging so it can clean itself up. Because right
Mm-hmm.
now it's pretty upside down, and we need to restore balance, because things like this don't happen in a world that's balanced.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so out of balance, is that how do we restore it,
Mm-hmm.
and will we be able to bring it back into balance?
Mm-hmm.
So for little ones, that hear these things about people dying and children are getting COVID, it's really scary for them.
Yes.
And how are they processing it? How
Mm-hmm.
are they processing this fear? Are they holding on to it in some way, and it's coming out in other forms? So we
Mm-hmm.
need to make sure that our children are really cared for.
Yes.
We need to make sure that as individuals, is that we're living that role and that model that we want our children to be.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be doing one thing and then telling our children to
Mm-hmm.
do another thing, because then we know that we're deceiving them.
Yes.
And I think that is a great disrespect for our children. So I think that for COVID, it's kind of an awakening time.
Yes.
It's a time that the world's being shook, and it's saying, wake up and smell the roses.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can smell them, then you're very fortunate, and you should count your blessings as another day. Because as humans, we became very spoiled, very displaced, and we became greedy in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
forms that,
Mm-hmm.
our children, often our youth, take the back seat,
Yes.
because there's some families that need to have two cars or better
Mm-hmm.
cars than the
Mm-hmm.
neighbor, and meanwhile
Mm-hmm.
their children sit and they don't even know their parents. So,
Yes.
this is time for parents to wake up and grandparents to wake up, and
Mm-hmm.
for all of us to wake up, because we owe it to our youth. And the
Yes.
reason why our youth are suffering is because the fact is that we're not standing up, and it's time that we stand up and we start being truthful with ourselves and with
Mm-hmm.
our youth. So,
Mm-hmm.
with that, is that, this is only my opinion, and there's many
Mm-hmm.
opinions,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd just like to say, Chimigwich, for this
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to be able to share. And I
Mm-hmm.
wish everybody's families, the best. And, may we always live free from hatred, free from prejudice, and free
Mm-hmm.
from greed. And may our happiness always be protected.
Mm.
Miigwech.
Chimigwich, Virginia. Those are words of true wisdom.
Mm.
And I'd like to believe that as we come through this pandemic, in time it will show itself what we have gained spiritually and emotionally. And if we're doing it better,
Mm.
as families and communities, and hopefully any lessons we've learned from it will be lasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is our use, like you say, it is our opportunity to turn that corner of change
Mm-hmm.
for the human being, but also the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So this pandemic may show its blessings in time
Mm-hmm.
of the opportunity it gave us all. But I'm so grateful that our community here on Bear Island, that uh, everyone has remained well.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was committed to
Mm-hmm.
caring for each other, and in the town of Temagami too.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's really shown how kind we can be to each
Mm-hmm.
other. So I do look forward to our summer season. I know we may not have our powwow, but we certainly are going to have opportunities to come together and to have those social times together. So I look forward to seeing everyone and having more time for you and I to share. And I'm sure that those watching this will will gain a lot
Mm-hmm.
from the words that you've shared that have come through your heart.
Miigwech.
So, Chi Miigwech, Virginia.
Aho.
Oh.